This is part of the CAS enrichment programme that is really taking a boost this year, and it's really exciting to have our guest speaker here today. We're incredibly lucky to have him give up his time. He is the cultural godfather of East London right now. So without further ado, I'd all like you to put your hands together, please, for Anwar Akhtar.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Sophie. That was a really kind introduction. And I've been asked to give you a talk this afternoon and show some film clips. And the subject of my talk, I decided, because I was asked to talk about my work and my education and my background, and I decided to make the subject the importance of education and the arts to working class young people. And I mean, a little bit about myself. I work as a journalist, a writer, a filmmaker. I run an organisation called Samosa Media that makes films, produces theatre and organises music concerts at some of the largest venues in the country. I was at university in Sheffield. I studied sociology and politics, social studies. And at the same time as I was at university, so I'd have been 19, 20, 21, so not much older than you are now, I was also working as a DJ, working as a club promoter, and I ended up building a nightclub and an arts centre with a budget of £2 million. And I wrote the business plan for that nightclub, that arts centre, and I raised the £2 million in my early 20s. And that was in 1995 when £2 million was a lot of money. So, and then I came to London after university, after a few years working in Sheffield, and I came to London in 1997. And I did several senior jobs in the arts and cultural sector in the capital. I was the project officer at the Arts Council in Westminster for the whole of the UK. And I was working on a portfolio, I was leading on a portfolio of about £200 million worth of investments by the Arts Council in museums, galleries, theatres, cinemas, contemporary arts venues, and new buildings that were being built up and down the country, much of which was funded by the lottery. I then went on to work for the Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, who had just been elected. In the same way that Sadiq Khan is now the Mayor of London, Ken was then the Mayor of London around 1999. And I worked for Ken Livingstone, Mayor of London, for 2 years. And my main role was working on investment and business plans to build new art centres across London. And that included the Rich Mix Art Centre in Tower Hamlets, the Bernie Grant Art Centre in Tottenham, and the Stephen Lawrence Architecture and Art Centre in Lewisham, Deptford. And then I went on to be the director of the Rich Mix Art Centre in East London, which is not far from here, Bethnal Green Road. And I led on a business plan. I pulled together a business plan that raised £30 million. That was a lot of money in 2005, and it's still a lot of money today. So my parents came to this country from Pakistan in 1967. They didn't speak English, came from a poor, rural, village, farming, traditional background from a place called Bahawalpur in the Punjab in Pakistan. Okay, and I grew up in a working class community in Manchester, a place called Rusholme, which is near Moss Side. And in some ways, it's not that different from the communities you're growing up in East London today. Although, this is also a different time. You're growing up in a time where the extremes of wealth and inequality are more challenging, more extreme than they perhaps were when I was a teenager. And so I want to talk to you about what it takes and what you need to do to succeed if you come from a working class background. One of the things I want you to think about, and it's an important thing for you to think about, is what shapes a country. What makes a country. Okay, and what makes a country more than anything else, absolutely more than anything else, is its young people. You might not think it, but you're the people that make this country. You shape it, and you're its future. So here's my 6 tips to help you succeed. So number 1, and this is probably the most important one, 99% of what your teachers tell you is correct. It's right, it's spot on, it's bang on the money. So you really need to follow it, listen to it, study and learn and pay attention. You know, it's really valuable. And that will help you have the best chance to succeed in life. And you can also then work out the 1% they got wrong and go and tell them later. So not that many people in this life are going to give you their time to help you, okay? 3 people do: your family, your friends, and your teachers, okay? So don't waste it. Seriously, don't waste it. Your teachers could earn a lot more money around the corner working in Canary Wharf and the city. Most of them could walk into top jobs there, across media, across the arts, across business, across finance, across translation, across marketing, across communication, across the sciences. And the fact that they're here teaching you for a lot less tells you that they care about you. So you should value that. And they care about your future. Number 2, education is what gives you the greatest chance to succeed in life. It's hard work, okay? It's hard work, which is another thing you have to do to succeed in life. And 99% of what your teachers tell you is correct, okay? Number 3, ask as many questions as you can and never stop asking questions. Read and ask questions. The more you ask questions, the more you work things out. If you don't understand something, ask and work it out and try and understand it. And if the worst thing you can do, okay, is just sit around in class, being bored, trying to look mean, moody, tough, you know, being an attention-seeking muppet by being disturbing things. You're just making life harder for yourself by doing that, you know. Related to education, don't watch, and I really mean this, don't watch brain-rotting rubbish TV, okay? Celebrity Idiot, Kardashians, I'm a Survivor, Muppet, get me out of here, right? You're just rotting your brain. Read books, watch news, watch TV documentaries, watch films, work out how the world works, and stop worrying about Celebrity Idiot Survivors, get me out of here, the Kardashians. It's just rotting your brain. Number 4, listen. Learn to listen. Anyone can talk. I'm great at talking. I can talk forever, okay? But making noise, being loud, you know, making a disturbance, that's part of being teenagers. That's what you're meant to do. And I was, and trust me, I was one of the most disruptive, rebellious, trouble-causing, peace-disturbing, hooligan teenagers you can imagine. You know, I actually had several interactions with Greater Manchester Police because of my behaviour as a teenager. And it's only when I learned to listen, really listen to what people were saying, that I was able to understand and move on to the career, the education, the jobs, and the responsibilities that I now have, running media organisations, running projects, working with government. So learn to listen, not just talk. Number 5, get addicted to the arts as much as possible. Music of all kinds, from all over the world, theatre, cinema, literature, dance, every art form, and travel as much as you can. And avoid people that tell you not to enjoy the arts. It's the most important and it's the best education. Number 6, always judge someone by their manners. Always judge someone by their manners. I've dealt with multimillionaires, senior politicians, cabinet ministers, newspaper editors, property tycoons, media tycoons, diplomats, army generals, other military people, all sorts of people with huge power. And one of the best ways to judge a person's character is how they treat people that don't have their power, how they treat waiters, how they treat taxi drivers, how they treat cleaners, how they treat shop workers. Good people have good manners. It was a property tycoon, by the way, that had the bad manners and thought he was better than everyone else. Always treat the other people with the same respect you want to be treated. Okay, so I said 6. I'm going to throw you in a 7th one for free, and it's probably the most important one for your life expectancy anyway. Cut down the junk food. Cut down the junk food. You're putting rubbish in your body, and your body is the only one you have. So look after it, and do as much sport and dancing as possible, and don't smoke, okay? So I said at the start of my talk, one of the greatest challenges many of you will face is being from a working class background. So before I say much more, I'm going to show you some clips, technology allowing, of people from working class backgrounds telling their stories, and then I'll say a little bit more after that.
With an education from this amazing school, you all have everything you need to rise above all of the noise and fulfill every last one of your dreams.
I think positive action is an acknowledgement of the structural barriers that take place to exclude people from systems, be it from politics, from the boardroom or whatever. And actually, just a very local, you know, the Labour Party has 45% of MPs are women because they took decisive action. I was selected on an all-woman shortlist. I got there by merit, I'm telling you now. It wasn't because I was just put up, I was put up against a pool of very, very capable women, I have to say. I just want to make one last point though, David, and that's that we are obsessed with the top, it seems. The biggest barrier in life to any kind of achievement is your socio-economic status, so what class you are, and how you achieve is very much about what opportunities are afforded to you. So I'm less concerned with the boardroom, and I'm more concerned with how much the lowest paid workers are being treated in this country.
I believe schools should equip children with a basic bag of goodies, an essential bag of goodies that will allow them to become successes in life. That bag of goodies contains things like knowledge on history, geography, science, maths, skills like reading and writing, analysis, being able to deconstruct a concept and put it back together again. Discipline, being able to sit on a chair, hold your pen, being able to be on time, meet deadlines, and so on, in order to ensure that all of our children, not just our middle-class children, have access to that essential bag of goodies.
Okay, so what you had there was different people that all had one thing in common. They all came from working class backgrounds, and they all got to the very, very top of their professions. And something else that they had in common, and this is where you're very lucky to be in a school as brilliant as this one in terms of resourcing, the teachers, the support, is they had beautiful language. They were able to talk and speak and communicate and engage with people. And language is so important. How you speak, your words, your elocution, and that's your education. And you will be judged on your language. More than your appearance, you will be judged by your words. And I want you to think about language because it's important in the context of schools and what you're taught and what you can aspire to be. So, I mean, I'm very grateful. I think like many of you here, you know, I'm blessed in that apart from English, I can speak other languages. I was brought up also speaking Punjabi and Urdu. Many of you here will speak Bengali, Yemeni, Somali, many languages, and that's brilliant. And, you know, my speaking Punjabi, my speaking Urdu was part of my family history and my heritage. And it's allowed me to work across South Asia, work internationally, work in very senior positions, because I was able to understand my Asian heritage, my Asian history, in the context of being British and British history. It led me to being the producer of a Mughal history play, Dara, that was originally performed in Punjabi, in Lahore, Pakistan, and then was translated, adapted and brought to the National Theatre, budget not short of 2 million, and it ran at the National Theatre for 3 months in 2015. So, and I think my experience is going to be similar to many of your experience. You know, when I was growing up in Manchester, my parents didn't speak great English, okay? So I was the one that had to do the translation, whether it was going to the bank, the furniture store, the town hall, going to the wholesalers, doing work with the shops, etc. It was myself that was, you know, and it gave me a great understanding of business as well, actually. And my father, he used to make me watch lots of BBC and ITV news and documentary programs so I could translate back into Punjabi what was being said, and it kind of led to my love affair with history and this thing that I want you to try and think about, which is so important that you understand, which is this thing called an island story, our island story, the story of the island that is Britain and the story that you're all part of. But here's three really important pieces of our island story, your story, that I would urge you all to study and ask as many questions as possible about from your teachers. Firstly, this island, Britain, not so long ago, had a huge empire, controlled about a third of the world, a third of this planet. Britain controlled what is now India, Bangladesh and Pakistan, America, large parts of South and West Africa, the Middle East, the Caribbean, Australia and Ireland. And much of the wealth of Britain was built on the back of this empire, on the back of slavery and the slave trade. And you need to study and research. There's no point just saying, oh, you need to know that inside out backwards. You need to know the dates, the period, the times, because it's such an important piece of history, especially if you want to succeed in the arts or culture or journalism or media. You need to know that in great detail. 2, and there's so much history, I've just picked 3 because these are the 3 that interest me. There's 3,000 that I could put up here, but 2. So Elizabeth I was Queen of England from 1558 to 1603. Her father, Henry VIII, as I'm sure you all know, had 6 wives. He was a bit like Boris Johnson. But anyway, during Elizabeth's reign, there was huge religious conflict in this country between Catholics and Protestants in Britain, and Scotland kept trying to get independence and break away from Britain, and Spain tried to invade Britain with a huge naval armada. Many people in Britain at the time did not like Catholics, didn't want more Catholics in the country, wasn't sure Catholics could be trusted, wasn't sure if Catholics were proper British people, if they were loyal to Britain. And Britain was also not sure if it should be in the European Union then as well. So some things haven't changed much. But if you want to understand Britain today, you have to understand Elizabeth I and that period of history. You really do. Okay, 3. During World War I and World War II, over 3 million Bengalis, Punjabis, Baluchis, Pathans, Kashmiris, Gujaratis, and many others from communities in India fought with the British Army in World War I and World War II. Britain would not have won World War I and World War II without those contributions. And always remember that, especially if you ever meet a racist. But always remember that. And thousands also fought from Britain, from the West Indies, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. So what I'm trying to say is study the history of this country, because it's your history. And don't waste time being an idiot watching celebrity rubbish, I'm a Survivor, rotten, brain-dead TV. Okay, so I'm going to finish by saying a very few quick things. I just want to touch on something. It was an issue when I was your age, but it's a bigger issue now, and it's a much more difficult issue now. But I want to talk about misogyny and sexism and gang culture, okay? So any boy or man that puts down women using abusive language, bullying, rubbish person, just challenge them. They're a rubbish person. And secondly, the subject of gangs is dominating the news at the moment. And all I'd say about that, because I'm sure you've got much wiser people talking to you about those issues from the police and youth and social services. So all I'll say is, don't go anywhere near it. Just avoid it. Nothing good there. Nothing good there. I mean, this is quite a hard thing to ask you to do, because I said your generation have got more economic pressures and social pressures in many ways than my generation had. And you have been let down by politicians as well recently. You've been failed with the cuts to educational maintenance allowance, increasing poverty. and all the time being wasted by Brexit. But I would just start by saying that, end by saying this. Be as ambitious as you can about your jobs, your dreams, your hopes. They start small as well as big. They start with your teachers. Everything I've succeeded in doing is down to my sixth form teachers. And I give you that same advice that I was given. And also, you know, you're living in one of the greatest cities on the planet. It's not as great as Manchester, but it's not bad. And go and explore it. Explore every bit of it. Museums, galleries, theatres, festivals. Find out how you get involved in those organisations, because that's an important part of your education. And it's what allowed me, doing that is what allowed me to have the career that I have had and I'm doing. Yeah.